if I had to pick an analogy to describe this game, I think the best way to describe it would be, have you ever watched one of those workout videos? Those like workout TikToks? And there was like, you gotta eat the protein to build the muscle mass and all that other stuff, and they put out a plate of unseasoned chicken and just steamed broccoli. That's what this game feels like. It's like it does its job, but it does its job in the most bare minimum way it possibly can. Kirby Star Allies. So I went into this game. I had seen the controversy surrounding it when it first came out. Everybody was like, it's not that good. It's boring. And I was like, it can't be that bad. I need people to understand. 2016, Nintendo HAL Labs releases Kirby Planet Robobot. One of their most creative and unique video games. Arguably, to some it's arguably the best game in the series. And then they release this, which is, this is supposed to be the big Kirby game for the 25th anniversary, and they proceed to do none of that. This is one of the most boring video games I have ever played in my life. And that is not a light statement. Okay, so let's dissect this one step at a time. First and foremost, the main story. Story starts out as most Kirby games do. Kirby's taking a nap, and then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. A giant, evil space fortress, interdimensional fortress, something called the Jambastion, comes down, and with it, a bunch of evil hearts, which have a name. I can't remember what they are, though. But basically, these hearts do what a lot of Kirby antagonists do. They possess people and turn them evil. Wow. As if that story has not been told about 30 times by now. But also, it's Kirby. He fights an interdimensional parasite every other weekend. Yeah, so basically, the hearts don't work on Kirby, and if anything, they do the exact opposite. They allow him to create hearts of his own, and he goes off to fight the evil fortress. That's basically the entire story. It's not much, but you know what? Simple Kirby stories are often good. I mean, for crying out loud, the Dark Matter saga is literally just interdimensional destruction, planetary thing comes down, go stop it. But anyway, no need to nitpick a simple story. Immediately as the game begins, it does give me one very big thing to criticize. There's no hub world, which I don't think is too much to criticize, but one of my biggest issues is how, with the story overall, the continuing story is how I was never engaged with it at any point, because going back to something like Return to Dreamland, which is also on Switch, you had a hub world you returned to after doing anything substantial, and you added onto it. The entire map here is just, you're going, which is not the biggest thing to criticize. It's just, I never felt like I stopped to acknowledge my progress. Does that make sense at all? It always felt like we were going. Like, when I got to Dedede, I just moved on. When I got to Meta Knight, I just moved on. When I got to any of the actual main antagonists, I beat them and I moved on. I never had a chance to stop. Like, for Kirby in the Forgotten Land. Anytime you beat a world, you went back to the hub world, and it's like, wow, look at all the progress you've made. See all the Waddle Dees you've rescued? They're rebuilding this town. You don't ever have a moment like that in this game. I don't know. Maybe that's a nitpick, but that is something I would have liked to see in this game. But anyway, gameplay wise, it's Kirby. You played Kirby, you played Return to Dreamland, you played Triple Deluxe, you played Planet Robot. You know how Kirby plays. It's that, but no creativity whatsoever. Well, okay, that's kind of a lie. So, this game really tried to bring back a lot of things that fans said they really liked about the series. And that right there in lies one of this game's biggest issues. This game lives in a state of inferiority, which I know is a very harsh thing to say, but here's the issue. Basically, everything in this game was done better in a previous game. So, for starters, one of the big thing that you could do in this game was befriend allies. You could you could create hearts to throw at enemies and, you know, create friends. As you can see on the box art, you have all those enemies willing to help you out. Here's the issue. It was done before in Superstar, and I'm sure another game that I can't remember off the top of my head. And it was better in that game because the level design was better in that game. But we'll get to that in a minute. The other thing you can do is combine copy abilities. Notice how that ninja right there has a flaming sword. Except here's the issue. When you could combine copy abilities in Kirby 64, it was like, oh, Needle turns you into like a weird Swiss Army knife thing. Rock and Burning turns you into a volcano. Ice and Spark turns you into a refrigerator. In this, it's like, oh, sword and fire gives me a flaming sword. It's not unique. It's literally all of the combined copy abilities are whatever ability you have, it's either on fire, it's ice, it's wind themed, or it's water themed. That's basically everything. There's no like, oh, you're ice skating. Oh, you're throwing shurikens. Oh, you're throwing dynamite that can hurt you as well as a massive amount of enemies. It it really just feels like they half-assed the entire thing in terms of a lot of what they added. Another issue with this game, I didn't notice it a ton until the end, but brother, this game runs not the best. Like, I'm not a frame rate guy. I'll never be like, oh, the frame rate's, oh, it's running at 59 FPS instead of 60. I don't like that. But when there's a lot going on screen, and towards the latter levels of the game, a lot does happen, especially with the last few bosses, the frame rate do dip a bit. And that can be it can be a little hard to tell where you are on screen. I'm not gonna lie. Um, Now I will say, I criticize this game a lot. It's not like this game is all bad. Alright, I'll say that. For one thing, while the level design is bad. 90% of the levels are literally just straight line, go, get to the end, maybe you'll climb a ladder or something. That's about it. It's extremely mediocre level design. That being said, the puzzles, there are not many, but there are a few puzzles where so if you've played Return to Dreamland, you'll remember the little enemy with the key that you have to grab the key from it to unlock the door before it runs off an edge or something. You will become a friend bridge in this game, and you have to lower or raise that little guy to get to the door to unlock it. But you don't want him to hit the spikes, or he'll die, or fall off the edge, or he'll die. And that is kind of fun to figure out how to get him running in the right direction. Those are fun. I'm not gonna lie. I think there's like maybe at the most 5 of those, but some of them are really uniquely designed, and I did really like that aspect. Um, that's one of the few good things. I'll also say, okay, we didn't get many, but the new copy abilities in this game were very fun. We got Staff, Spider. What was the third one again? Artist. Staff, Spider, Artist, and Festival. Staff is basically just. It's basically a new version of Spear, kind of. Spider's cool. Spider lets you, how do I speak words? You shoot webs, like very small webs, but they wrap up enemies immediately, and you can then kick them around. So it's very strong, but it doesn't work on like big enemies. But it's still very fun to use. You can bounce things around with webs. You can like cover the screen with a lot of spider stuff. That one's fun. Artist is basically if they took paint from the previous Kirby games and made it competent. You just throw paint around. You actually do get to paint the fridge from Kirby 64. It's called Still Life, and it gives you food. And I think that is really neat. Wait, uno momento. All right, I lost my train of thought for a second. Okay. My last very major criticism of this game, which I know we've been flipping back and forth, it's like, oh, this game's got a lot of bad stuff, but this game has some good stuff. My one very major criticism of this game is it is so easy. And I get it. It's a Kirby game. I'm not going into this expecting Dark Souls. But oh my lord, when I finished everything, finished everything in the main story, I had over 120 lives. And that is without grinding. At no point did I stop and grind for lives. I didn't need to. I did not need to. It is the easiest Kirby game. Bar none, hands down. 90% of the time, I died because I got cocky with a cannon, shot too early, and got crushed by a moving block. That is primarily how I died in this game. It is ridiculously easy. Not to mention, if you are stuck on a puzzle, like there are certain puzzles that will require a combination of an ability with another ability. If you're stuck on a puzzle, just give those abilities to the helpers and they'll solve it for you. You don't have to do that. You don't even have to do that. I don't even know. Now, there's if anything can be taken away from this game, though, I will say I liked the villains. The 3 elemental mage sisters that are the villains, primary villains, I liked them. I thought they were very cute and very fun. And they honestly, the lightning one especially, gave for some fun boss battles, even if the lightning one was ridiculously easy. The actual main villain wasn't interesting at all. In fact, it might be top 3 least interesting Nintendo villains of all time. But the final boss, the final boss of this game, maybe the best Kirby final boss in the series. If it is not the best, it is top 5 minimum. I don't know if I'd say it's the best, actually remembering what the Forgotten Lands final boss is, but it's top 5. I ain't budging on that opinion. It's top 5. It is amazing. I would honestly recommend you play this game just for the final boss alone. And I'm being serious on that. Now, of course, with the game being easy, the game being lackluster, the game being boring, there are side modes. There are side modes. Before we get into the actual major side modes, we'll go over the two, the two little mini games that every Kirby game has. There's Chop Champs, which is basically just chop down the tree as fast as you can while switching sides on the tree to avoid getting hit by the bugs or the Gordos. It's fine. It's fun. It's fine. It's not something you're ever going to play, often. Plus, there's thousands of other versions of a game like that. I don't know. It's whatever. Star Slam Heroes though is fun, mostly because it's Megaton Punch. It's literally just Megaton Punch, but Meteor Baseball. Still fun, but it's not like you're missing out if you haven't played it. But it is fun. Now, the 3 actual modes in the game. Guest stars, and it has like a longer name. It's like guest star, who's that, star allies go, yada yada yada. This is basically an abridged version of the main story that you play exclusively with a helper. You want to play an abridged version of the game with only 1 copy ability that you can still make helper friends with, so it's really not 1 copy ability? Now you can. It's very whatever. I also swear there are some levels in this version that are slightly different than the main story, but I also don't remember any levels from the main story, so I could be completely wrong on that. Then there's the ultimate choice, which is just the arena, but I will say I do like how there is a difficulty selector in this. You do not get the second, you don't get the third and second highest difficulties for the arena until you beat guest star, because guest star has an exclusive final boss, which is amazing. But we'll circle back to that in a minute. But the arena is I mean, it's the arena. I just like how there's a difficulty selector. And then finally there is Heroes in Another Dimension, which honestly, if you're going to take anything away from this game, this is good. Heroes in Another Dimension is good. Unlike the main story where all of the levels are based around multiplayer for everyone, so it's not really designed around one ability, so to speak. Heroes in Another Dimension, it is simple as that. It is. You will play. It's broken up into segments. You will either play as Kirby with a copy ability, or as one of the many newly added Dream Friends. That's right. If I can give Kirby Star Allies any amount of credit whatsoever, it is the amount of fan service dumped into this game is amazing. And I don't want to spoil everything, because if you haven't played this game and you are very knowledgeable on Kirby lore, like I'm talking like deep Kirby lore, you are going to enjoy this game very much. But the Dream Friends, like, I think, like, Meta Knight, D, Bandana D, I think those were in the game at the start, but for God's sake, man, they added Adeline and Ribbon from 64, Dark Meta Knight from Amazing Mirror, Maglore from Return to Dreamland, Susie from Planet Robot. If it was a friend Kirby made that had an impact on the story in any way, they are playable in this game. Like in Heroes in Another Dimension. Plus, once you beat Guest Star once, they're playable in that too. So that's really freaking cool. The only characters friends-wise you really can't play is Ningo, Pitch, and Choo Choo from Dreamland 3, but those three are also built into the cleaner ability, so I don't think it matters at the end of the day, really. But yeah, also, I won't say what, but if you do manage to collect 100 of the friend hearts in Heroes in Another Dimension, you get something really freaking cool once you beat the final boss of that. So, bar nothing, that's fun. That's really enjoyable. So I think that's everything that I've covered or is worth covering. I guess the last thing that should be mentioned is the graphics. The graphics in this game look amazing. That needs to be said. Bar nothing. Like this is HD Kirby. This is the first Kirby game on an HD console that isn't Rainbow Curse, and you can tell. And it does kind of suck that this is how he started out on the Switch, but you know what? I will say I do think this game gets too much hate. I don't think it is the worst Kirby game of all time, but it's not good either. I I would say Kirby Star Allies deserves a flat 6 out of 10. It's okay. It's incredibly boring, incredibly lackluster designed. But if you got 4 real people together to play this game, I think you'd have a pretty dang good time, honestly. Not to mention the amount of fan service that is in this game is legitimately amazing. Like, there are some genuinely awesome references and moments in this game, especially at, like, the end of everything. Uh, but yeah, I'd say 6 out of 10. If you want to play a Kirby game on the Switch, play Forgotten Land. It's it's one of the best games in the series, and if you're just craving to play 2D Kirby, Return to Dreamland Deluxe will scratch that itch no problem. But yeah, 6 out of 10, it's okay. That's about everything I need to say. Have a good day.